Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Truth Report. And joining us today is a first-time guest and somebody I've followed for several years now and have so much respect for. It's a real pleasure to welcome Artur Pawlowski to the show today. Artur, welcome.
Thank you so much, Noah, for having me on your show.
Yeah, it is a true pleasure, and we have so much to talk about. I certainly have followed you pretty closely. For those people that don't know you, buckle up because this is going to be a really fun one. This guy is full of integrity and character, and he did the things that we all should have done during the past 4 years. We'll get into all of that, but he's a Polish-Canadian pastor, and he really came to attention during COVID and just trying to run his church up in Canada. And I want to play a video for everybody just to kind of give you, if you don't exactly remember all the details, let me play this really quick. And I think you'll either remember this, or if it's the first time you've seen this, you're really in for something. Here we go. This is the famous video that went viral back in 2021 from inside your church. There's the Canadian police, and you can tell the story after I play this, Artur. But there's a Canadian police coming in with their masks, and it sure looks like you've committed some huge crime, but of course you're just trying to hold your church service. And so let me play this. It's 2 minutes long, and then we'll be back here, and I'll turn the mic over to you to tell us what we're seeing. But take a look at this.
Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out.
We can't hear a sound.
Hang on, everybody. Let me. I'm hearing that there's no sound. Let's try it one more time here.
It started with the sound and then it cut off completely.
Oh, did it? Okay. All right. Let's try it again.
I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property immediately. Out. I don't care what you have to say. Out. Out. Out of this property, you Nazis. Out. Out. Gestapo is not allowed here. Immediately, Gestapo is not allowed. Out. Do you understand English? Get out of this property. Go. So go. Go. And don't come back without the warrant. Out, Nazi. Out. Out. You understand? Nazis are not welcome here. Out. And don't come back without the warrant. Do not come back without the warrant. You understand that? You're not welcome here. Nazis are not welcome here. Gestapo is not welcome here. Do not come back, you Nazis.
Okay, I still remember 3 years ago watching that for the first time and standing up, literally cheering in my office here, because that was just such that's how you do it. You stand up for your rights. You have different rights up in Canada than we do here in the United States, but and we'll talk about that a little bit. You actually, in some ways, have more protections for your churches and more of a history there, but we'll talk about that in a second. But now to have you here 3 years later and get to chat with you live is incredible. So let me just say, well done. Thank you for standing up. So many pastors here in the United States just instantly closed their doors, locked their churches at the time when the churches needed most. So I think what everybody watching here would say, I would just like to say to you is thank you and well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, you got to remember, I am a Polish immigrant. I grew up in hell. When people ask me about my childhood, that's the only thing that comes to mind. Hell. Everything was completely controlled by the government. How much gasoline you can put in your car, what kind of a sausage you can have. I mean, ridiculous things. How much sugar you can buy every month. How many chocolates. I remember growing up in a country that when my mom was extremely blessed and was able to buy one bar of chocolate for my birthday or Christmas, and if it happened, a miracle, if peanuts were in it, I would break the chocolate into smaller little squares. I would lick the chocolate and save the peanut for the next day. When I share my stories with the people, they look at me like I'm, from another planet. Communism, fascism, globalism, all the isms is slavery. You got two categories of people: those that have everything and those that have nothing. It's truly a repetition of a pharaoh and slaves. You're the slaves, they're the elites, and they're not hiding it. They're telling you you will own nothing and you will be happy. Why? Because they will own everything. The same people that are telling you you will own nothing were the same people that kept us under the boots of communism and socialism when I was growing up. And they are telling you you will eat bags while they are eating the most expensive Japanese steaks. They just went to Davos on their private jets, while at the same time they're telling you there is a global climate, trouble in the air and you should be walking or riding a bicycle. They are flying private jets, driving their SUVs. You gotta understand, nothing is new under the sun. This is simply a repetition of history. We've seen this before historically, and of course, people like me, we grew up under those types of regimes, totalitarianism, a police state where you could be arrested for anything. You see, at that time, I was criticized by some clergy around the world that I used improper language. I simply know I called them by their proper pronouns. They acted like Nazis. I called them Nazis. They acted like Gestapo. First of all, do you know what Gestapo means? I have to educate people all the time about, do you understand? Do you even know what I was trying to communicate to the world? Gestapo simply means a political police. In other words, those officers with pistols and tasers and badges did not come to uphold the law. They came to break the law in the name of the law, protected by the politicians and the crooked judges. And I wanted to communicate a simple message to the people. Also, I was actually shocked that the Get Out video, the video that you just played, was watched during that weekend over 1 billion times. It was the most viewed video on earth during that Passover celebration. Why? I asked a friend of mine, a politician here in Canada, I said, Rob, I don't get it. I've done amazing things, I think, in my life. I feed thousands of people every week on the streets of Calgary. I started over 40 churches, orphanages in Africa, medical clinics, churches. I've done marches for Jesus, big Christian festivals. I have done radio, TV shows, all kinds of different things. And yet this simple Get Out resonated with the people. And he said, well, they were subjected to hopelessness and tyranny and this great demonic evil. In other words, the whole earth was blanketed with terror and fear. And when they saw you, a Polish immigrant with a broken English, telling those Nazis, those political Gestapo police officers, to get out, it resonated with the people, because that's exactly what we all needed to do. Get out of my church, get out of my school, get out of my White House, get out of the parliament, get out of my shopping mall, get out of my home, get out, you wicked, evil people. Either you want to call them the Nazis. Of course, I was just trying to get attention of the people, kind of connecting the dots that I have seen this before. And also, Noah, you gotta understand, I grew up in a city with a concentration camp, in a city that as kids we were playing in the bunkers of the SS. Of course, I grew up in a country that, as you know, was the first country that was attacked by the Nazis. So all my the older generation, my grandparents and the teachers and the people that were around us were telling us constantly about the atrocities of the Nazi regime. And then on top of that, I grew up under the boots of the Soviets, another psychopathic ism, socialism, communism, this godless entity that said there is no God, that we are gods. The communist government wants to be worshipped. And that's why, Noah, people don't understand what happened. That's why when I call him the biggest Pinocchio that ever lived, when he was coming on television in the morning, was telling you one story, and then in the evening he was telling you another story. And then, of course, in between, he was changing all the time because they're pathological liars, they're manipulators, they know what they're doing. And it was fascinating to watch this because it was a global phenomenon. When those people came on television, they were not passing laws, but everything they said automatically kind of became a law without being passed. In other words, the Pharaoh has spoken. You must worship me. You must obey me. You must do what I'm telling you to do, or else. That's exactly why United States of America fought during the 1776. That's exactly what people didn't want. It was this monarchy, the king, whatever he woke up in the morning and he decided, I'm going to raise taxes, I'm going to do this, no, who do you think you are? And that's exactly what I was saying. Who do you think you people are? You're uncircumcised Philistines. You should defy the armies of the living God. And I was telling them that. Excuse me, officer, you wear a badge. I'm paying your salary. You have a pistol that I have given you. A society has given you this privilege to be a law enforcer. Why are you not following the law? You're a lawbreaker. You're no different than a gangster working for the mafia. You're a muscle for crooked judges, for crooked politicians. And some of them understood what was going on. Most were telling me openly, I have a mortgage to pay. I'm just following orders. I'm just doing what I'm told. Your beef is with the politicians. No, 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 no. We have 2,000, let's say 2,200 police officers in the city of Calgary, 1.3 million people. If only 2,000 people living here would say we're not going to break the law because we are the law enforcers, we're the police officers, the peace officers, we're not going to obey this because this is unconstitutional. This goes against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which, by the way, in Canada has a preamble that states, whereas Canada acknowledges the supremacy of God and the rule of law, we're not going to enforce crooked laws that are not even laws, but mandates and recommendations. This whole thing would be over. But now even go further. If just the churches and the pastors would refuse to cooperate with the Nazis, with the communists, with the godless, evil, wicked people, and would say, no, Walmart is open, IKEA is open, Costco is open, a marijuana store in Canada was open, abortion clinic was open, liquor store was open. I shall not shut my church because it is essential, especially if you're telling us we are in this great difficult times, we are being attacked, whatever, then our services are needed more than ever. And that's exactly what I said to the Canadian government. I was, no, I don't know if you know, I became the first Canadian to get a COVID ticket at the beginning of 2020. So the authorities came to me. First, they sent an email and they said, we are in this, in the middle of this crisis. You have to stop feeding the people. And I'm thinking like, are you serious? You're shutting down shelters. You're shutting down soup kitchens. What do you think is going to happen to 15 to 20,000 different individuals facing homelessness or roaming the streets of our city? They're going to turn into crime. They're going to whack your grandma's head. They're going to break into your car, into your house, into a grocery store. People need to eat. So I replied to them and I said, you don't make any sense. I appealed it to the mayor. I appealed it to the premier. Premier is like your governor. I appealed it to every minister. And guess what? No one replied to me, except they all showed up, 12 officers, and they demanded that I stop feeding the poor. And I said no. So I end up with the COVID ticket. They did a press conference, chief of police, the whole 9 yards. It became a national story that I'm this grandpa killer, I'm this lawbreaker, troublemaker. But my crime, actually all of my crimes, I was arrested 16 times, over 350 citations, over 120 court cases. I was charged with terrorism. I was charged with criminal offenses. All of that is for me doing my job as a clergy. Can you believe it? I'm just doing my job. My job is to pray for people. I was charged because, to pray for people, I lay hands on them while 6 feet apart. I was charged criminally. I was charged for inciting people to come to church. I was charged criminally for officiating an illegal gathering, participating in illegal gathering. I was criminally charged for not wearing a muzzle. I mean, I'm not the dog. You put a muzzle on my dog and he will bite you. I'm not putting your stupid pampers on my face that I know that it's not working. The same way, pampers on a kid is not working. The whole, world can know and smell that there is a trouble in the house. I remember, I'm a father of 3 children, and I'm telling you, every time my kid did this unthinkable deed, it was like a biological weapon. It was a horror in the house if my wife was not around, because then I had to deal with it. I was privileged to hang around with the most brilliant humans on earth, biologists and scientists, biologists, doctors, real doctors, when I was touring United States, and they were educating me, telling me this is nonsense. 6 feet apart is a made-up stuff. And of course, now we know it was a made-up stuff, that we know that the muzzle did not work. We knew that they just made this up. It was an experiment. It was a social experiment to see if people are stupid enough to obey their stupid, insane, without backing of the science, mandates and restrictions. So I started to oppose that because, Noah, again, you have to always remember that you're dealing with a Polish immigrant. I have been subjected to this before. Propaganda in the school. I remember growing up, we were told always Dieduszka Stalin. Dieduszka Stalin means Grandpa Stalin. He was the savior of Europe, we were told. So everywhere you turn, there was propaganda, lie, chasing lie. So when I saw the same tactics in the West, actually globally, but let's just focus on the West, I knew right away. I said to my wife, this is a lie. I remember, honey, we grew up under this. This is a big fat lie. I can smell it. I can see it. The same tactics are being used right now. It's a repeat, copy paste from the book, How to Become a Tyrant. So going forward, I decided to resist because, Noah, I did not come to America to become a slave. I came to America to become a free man. So I can work hard, so I can achieve something, and so I can pass it to my children, to the next generation, something beautiful. That's why I came here. And I've decided I'm not running away. That's it. We left Poland once, and we have a house here. I'm going to stand and fight, even if it means to die on this hill. It was very close. So what happened was the police officers started to show up. I started to get tickets after tickets. And 2020 was a year for me that I was followed everywhere. I was smeared on a regular basis, almost all the time in the news. I was called a bloody murderer. They compared me to Adolf Hitler and, all kinds of crazy things. I had from 8 officers at my service church. Again, we're talking about the church where I feed thousands of people every week. 200 over 120 police officers at my service. So you can imagine the pressure we were at all the time. We were attacked by Antifa. And then the Christmas came. And I don't know if you remember, the Canadian government declared that they're canceling Christmas. They said we have to cancel Christmas because of this great, disease, whatever. But just a few weeks before that, the same people went on television and they said the kids have a wonderful Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few weeks later, they said, oh, sorry, we have to cancel Christmas. And they said it on television. The chief of police said that he's going to be monitoring the driveways. And he commanded his officers to break the doors and arrest anyone if they will suspect that you have extra people in your home. So what I did, and Noah, that's me. I'm different, and I understand that I'm different. I am a different pastor. First of all, I am a peculiar pastor because I actually read the Bible, believe it or not. And in my Bible, it says very clearly, do not forsake the gatherings of the saints. In my Bible, maybe you're reading a different Bible. Maybe those pastors are reading different Bible. But in my Bible, it says, lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. You see, I'm not afraid of the virus. The virus is afraid of me.
There you go.
Right? I mean, this is ridiculous. In my Bible, it says that every time we meet, we should honor him and remember his suffering on the cross, the death and the resurrection of our Lord and Jesus Christ by breaking bread and reminding him and the precious blood that was shed. The government comes on television. They said, we're canceling Christmas. So I went on television too. Why not? And I invited people to the biggest Christmas celebration in the land. And guess what happened? Thousands of people showed up. And we had AAA steaks. We had hundreds of gifts for the homeless people. We had a great time. But we also had at our church gathering over 120 police officers, 52 police cars, 20 cops on bicycle, anti-terrorists, special SWAT team, and the chief of police. And I was told that I did the unthinkable. At that time, Canadian government said to us that singing is also prohibited by law. Can you believe it? The government is telling us you're not allowed to sing because if you do, the whole city is going to collapse and die. You're not allowed to have a Lord's Supper. So what we did, I hired carolers. And we were singing Christmas songs and everyone had a great time. And guess what happened? No one dropped dead. No one died. I know miracles do happen at the church, but I'm telling you, no one dropped dead. And I end up with 15 COVID tickets worth millions of dollars. It took me 2 years to fight it. So that's 2020. And I'm kind of skipping a lot of things because we will have to talk for hours. And then 2021 shows up.
Well, hey, real quick before you do 2021, I just want to tell people we are truly live right now, and we're going to be taking your questions. So I can see a lot of people, Artur, are on with us, and we're on Rumble, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitter X right now. So I've already seen a few comments and questions come in, but hey, just let us know if you can hear us okay. Let us know that you're connected. I always love to hear where people are listening from. So let me know what city or state you're listening from, whether you're US or Canada or somewhere else. That's always fun to see. And then if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. And Artur said, he said, give me your hardest questions. Go ahead. I'm not afraid of anything, which is probably not a surprise to you if you've listened to the first part of this interview. This man is bold as a lion, and I love it. So he would like to answer any and all of your questions. We'll pepper them in here as we go, but drop them in the chat, and we'll feature as many of those as we can. Incredible story. I want to let you keep going with past 2020, but you said so many really important things, and I think maybe the most important to me is well, a couple things. One is just probably anybody listening to my voice that's watching this in America has never truly lived through communism or socialism the way you did growing up in Poland. They have no idea. I mean, and you and people like you, there's not a lot of those voices speaking up. So people have no idea. So the perspective that you bring to this is so important. And by the time people here in America would get a feel for what that's like, it's too late. And so that's why voices like yours are so important. And, you know, I was I guess, surprised. Maybe not if I really think about it, but I guess I would have thought more people would have spoken up, pushed back, fought back, done something the way you did. I was really surprised and really disappointed. We shouted from the rooftops on our website, and we said this is wrong from day one. We used our platform to do what we could, but so many people just went along with it. And like you said, it's a social experiment to see how many people would go along. It was a really scary high number, and that worries me. People are asleep, and they'll just listen to whatever they're told to do. There's a I'm sure you've probably seen it, but there's a famous video where some guys got out lint rollers, and they were telling people to enter the building. This is back in like 2021, and they were saying to enter the building, you have to get scanned by this device, and it was just a lint roller. But people lined up and went right through it, just like sheep. And so it's just very scary. But that's why your voice is so important, and everybody listening too. So I'm seeing some comments coming in. We got look at this. Alberta is in the house with us. There's some fellow Canada. We've got Texas from the USA. Fantastic. Yep, we've got people over in Rumble too. All right. Well, listen, let's get the mic back to you, and continue from 2021. But I really wish we had more people like you doing and saying the things that you're doing.
Yeah. Before I go, I think to answer your question, why people did not rise up is because of comfort. And the Bible references to that. It actually, God speaks to the Israelites and says, when you possess the land that I am giving it to you, and you take the houses you have not built and the vineyards you have not planted, just do not forget about me. You see, America, West, has forgotten who is the gift giver. This is our promised land. God has given it to us. It's, in my opinion, we are living in the most beautiful place on earth, and yet we took it for granted. People got lazy. People got comfortable. Christianity has become the fast food Christianity, just like our food. Everyone wants to have the gratification right now. People don't want to suffer. People don't want to pay the price. You see, Christianity has become this social club of entertainment. People want to be entertained. Don't tell me tough things. Don't tell me to change. Just give me, cozy, nice, feel good, God loves you, has a wonderful plan for your life messages. Don't tell me what Jesus said, pick up your cross daily and follow me. Don't tell me about that they will cost me something to do the right thing, to stand and to speak for righteousness and the truth. Don't tell me those unwanted things. Just people treat God like a vending machine. You put $1 in and a chocolate bar comes out. They don't know God, and that's my point. They don't understand God. He's a holy God. He's a righteous God. He wants justice to come back to our nation. In the Bible, it says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. We're losing liberty because America, the West, has kicked God out of the West, and we have replaced God with idols and with perversion and a murder of the innocent children, all those different things. So to fix this problem, we need to bring God of liberty, God of freedom, God of truth, God of power, God of healing back into our nation. The moment he shows up, it's over for our enemies, for the uncircumcised. So also, because you were talking about the communism, I'll give you a little bit of the insight of how it was and what's already here in a smaller scale in our countries. But how was life under communism? You couldn't express your opinion. You couldn't freely talk to your neighbors because you didn't know. You never knew who is the snitch. You never knew who works for the government as an operative. If you were caught with a pamphlet that was not approved by the Communist Party, you could go to prison for a year or two. Of course, every single time the police would arrest you, you were tortured, you were beaten, and the message was very clear. Don't go against the Communist Party or else. Imagine listening to a radio. So now, just for the sake of the discussion, people are listening to this podcast. Let's say the Canadian government is telling you you're not allowed to listen to the podcast from outside of the country, but yet somehow, your kid tuned in and you walked in and you got captivated by the story, let's say, and you are listening and someone saw it. You know the penalty for something like this? For listening to a European radio,
Wow.
the
I don't know.
penalty was 5 years of imprisonment.
Wow.
Of course, after you were tortured, you gotta always remember, you were not just arrested, you were always beaten, tortured. I remember the show trials. A show trial, that's what happened to me here. A show trial is when the decision is already made, but they're doing this for a show.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually to send a message to others. Look what we have done to Artur Pawlowski. If we can do this to a pastor, you know what we can do to you? If we can get away with torturing, arresting pastors, you know what we can do with the rest of you? That's the message.
Mm-hmm.
So the show trial was usually done in such a way that the man accused was brought before the court, before the judge on stretcher. He would not have fingernails. He was beaten, tortured, broken teeth, and black eyes. And he was told to say that he has fallen while he was, waking up. That was always the official thing. Your Honor, because the judges asked, because it was filmed, what happened to you? Oh, Your Honor, I have fallen. Sorry, I was just not careful walking. He doesn't have fingernails, and so it's crazy. But that's ism. Globalism is fascism, communism, socialism. It's a hybrid. It's all of those fascism, Nazism on steroids. And that's exactly what it is. We're heading there. In Canada right now, I don't know if people know this in the United States, that we cannot see certain news coming from America because on our Facebook, it shows content not available in Canada. Yeah. So I was showing this to my friends in America. Look, you post something, and if I'm in Canada, I cannot view it. I cannot see it. It's just the information. Because the fight, Noah, is always about the same thing. It's about the truth. Did God really say that? From the very beginning of Genesis all the way to the Revelation, the fight is always for the truth. Because if you have the truth, then you're truly free. The truth shall set the captives free. So now going back to the story, we have a lot to cover. 2021 comes, and you got to remember, I'm already hunted down by the authorities for over a year now. April comes, beginning of the 2021 comes, and they blocked our driveway to our church. And imagine you go to a church, and suddenly a parking lot is filled with the police, peace officers, and you're not allowed to drive in. Why? Because the government says so. So people had to park their vehicles, blocks away, and they still came and they walked. So the government realized this tactic is not working. People will come. They will come. They will be a little bit late, or they will come next week earlier, but they will still come. So what they did, they started to use telescopic cameras, and they started to take pictures of our women and children. Why is this so important for the people to understand? Is that those tactics are straight from the Nazi book or the Gestapo book or the KGB book. You put a pressure on a man by intimidating the man with a simple thing. We know where your wife works. You know what can happen to your daughter? We've heard you have 15 years old daughter. You know what can happen to your daughter? So be careful. Keep doing what you're doing. And one day, your family will pay for what you're doing. That's the message. And the Canadian government started to use exactly the same tactics on us. Then the April comes. And you got to remember, at that time, it's over a year, we're being harassed, intimidated, ticketed on a regular basis. And our rallies are growing. We have protests going on all over this country. And I was in the church early in the morning, getting ready for a sermon and to receive the people, when I turned my head to the left and I saw those masked bandits entering the the holy place, the sanctuary. And I'm telling you, they wanted to have a conversation with me, and I will have none of it. The only thing I had for those people was, get out, you Nazis. Just get out. You're not welcome here. Everyone is welcome to come to the church, but not in this capacity. You're here to intimidate, harass my parishioners that God entrusted me. Get out. So eventually, it took me over 30 times to tell them get out. Eventually, they go, but 3 weeks later, they came back with wrath of the government. But before that happened, I uploaded the video, and I tell you, Noah, the truth, I didn't even think much about it. I had so many interaction with the police and health inspectors and different types of law enforcement agents during that time that, I've done hundreds of videos with them. I uploaded, didn't think twice about it, did my sermon, which was Pharaoh, let my people go. That was actually the title of the sermon I had that day. So I was kind of filled with this anger against the wickedness of the Egyptians and the Pharaoh. So when they came, I just told them to get out, and I preached, Pharaoh, let my people go. And here is a fascinating part of the story. I opened my phone, and suddenly there is thousands of texts and emails and people asking for interviews, Fox News, all kinds of the biggest outlets that they are on earth asking me for an interview. And I didn't know what I did. I, I didn't know what is going on. I said to my wife, like, those people want to interview with me, but I don't know what I did to deserve this interview. Like, what's going on? And then I saw the video, millions of views. And of course, within a weekend, they reached 1 billion views. They took my YouTube channel down because it was so popular. And I started to do interviews, sometimes 10, 15 a day. Wow. And then 3 weeks later, anti-terrorists showed up. So think about it. I was arrested by anti-terrorists. They showed up at the church, was packed house, standing room only. They opened the door. They realized this is going to be a bloody mess if we arrest this guy from the pulpit while he's preaching. So they dropped something on the ground and they left. It turned out that they managed to find some crooked judges in the province of Alberta. David Gates, and I don't know if he's related to your devil, Bill Gates, but David Gates of Alberta gave them the power to enter our church, contrary to our criminal code and the protection that we have within the Constitution, that it's a holy place. And he gave them the power to come with anyone they wanted to. So they showed up with the SWAT team. Then they found another crooked judge, John Rook the Crook, as I call him, another judge in the province of Alberta, that gave them the power to arrest anyone that would oppose a health inspector. Then they found another crooked judge, Adam Germain, that actually, after we got arrested in the middle of the highway on my knees in rain by anti-terrorists, and I was tortured, manhandled, taken to prison, this Adam Germain judge actually later on found us guilty on everything. And here is what he did. He gave us something that has never been done in a real democracy. He gave us a compelled speech. You know what the compelled speech demanded us to do? We were commanded by the court order, or we will go back to prison, to parrot the narrative from the government if it comes to this, pandemic, whatever we want to call it. And it was absolutely a shocker to everyone, because he told us if we don't read this government approved script, we will go to prison. So I remember when he pronounced that, and of course he hit us monetary, I think it was $40,000-$50,000 penalties and stuff like this. I remember I grabbed the mic and I said, Judge, I hope you're listening to this. Listen to me clearly, because I will never, ever obey your order. I will never lie to the people. I will not repeat your lies. I will always tell the people the truth. So if you want to arrest me, I'm not running away. I'm not hiding. Here I am. My brother David, that was arrested with me in that famous highway arrest, and we were taken to jail 3 days and 2 nights on concrete, with a light so bright that it was hurting our eyes, shackled like animals, like from the Middle Ages. And He grabs the mic and says, "Judge, I hope you're listening to me, because I'm telling you, you can shove your order where the sun doesn't shine." And I said, "David, you just killed us." That's it. I was trying to be nicer. You just killed us. But guess what? Nothing happened. We were not arrested at that time. We filed an appeal and we won 3-0. We won the appeal, but they were so enraged. I decided to go to America just for a few weeks. During the biggest lockdowns, I traveled where the government said no one is allowed to leave the country. I managed to go there with my son. We tour America. We were supposed to be in America for 2-3 weeks. The interest was so phenomenal that I got invitations all over your beautiful country. We stayed there for 4 months. That enraged the Canadian government. Like my wife says, that you escaped their claws.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know what to do, because I was talking, I was doing conferences with Trump's family, with General Flynn, with Mike Lindell, with all your heroes, with all your amazing American heroes. I was at medical conferences, I was at the freedom conferences, I was probably in 30 different states, traveling, sometimes boarding 2-3 planes a day, traveling. I spoke at churches, big churches, small churches, open air rallies. I was at protests everywhere I could go, on news, of course, all the time, war room, you name it, I was on it, warning Americans, because God told me in the plane, tell this great American eagle. That's what he said to me, Noah. Tell this great American eagle that it's time for that eagle to rise up once again and start flapping its wings. And I was shocked. He called you great American eagle. And then he says you've done it before and it's needed. You need to do it again. Start flapping your wings. Start doing something. So I was sharing this with American people. The reception was phenomenal. Phenomenal. I would never expected that I would be welcomed to your country like one of your own. I was actually adopted to America. And I'll never forget some of the meetings. We are at this big gathering, thousands upon thousands of people. And I'm standing there with my son, Nathaniel, and the people were singing "God Bless America," and I turned to my left and I turned to my right, and I started to see men crying. Tears were coming down their cheeks, and I was so moved in my heart because I didn't know. I'm a Canadian citizen, I'm a Polish citizen, so when they were singing national anthem, I just I stood. I didn't know how to really behave because I'm not an American, but I turned to my son and I said, "You know what? I don't care if this is politically correct or not. I am an American. I'm adopting myself." And I started to sing with them. I am an American, either they like it or not. But of course, the reception was so amazing.
I love it.
It was just incredible. Then it was time for me to come back, and a shock, absolute shock. Americans offered me land, they offered me a place to stay, a church, but I've told them I have to come back. I quoted Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German pastor that was murdered by the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
He opposed the Hitler's regime. And I said, just like he was offered to stay in America in 1939, but he said, if I don't go back to my people and suffer with them, I'll have no right to rebuild my Germany when this whole thing is done. So I said the same thing about Canada, and I said I have to go back. And I had multiple people telling me prophecies that I will be arrested, but I did not think I'll be arrested in this spectacular way. So I'm arriving into Calgary before I called my lawyers from the airport, and I said, is there anything I should be aware of? Are there warrants for my arrest? No, nothing. It seems everything is good. No issues, no problems. When I was in the air, they activated 2 warrants for my arrest. I stepped out of the plane, Noah, and I got immediately arrested on the tarmac.
Wow.
How many people have you seen being arrested on the tarmac? I've never seen anyone being arrested on the tarmac, stepping out of the plane. It was insanity. Police officers were hiding. So when we came with the plane, nothing was there, no issues, no problems, because all of those rats were hiding in a customs building, and I was interrogated, stripped, the whole 9 yards. They looked everywhere. They even broke the law by breaking into my laptop illegally. They destroyed my laptop, $5,000, and then I was taken to jail, charged criminally for my offenses. Again, the charges were inciting people to come to church, officiating an illegal gathering, participating in illegal gathering. I was even charged criminally for baptizing my daughter in a public park outside in a river. Can you believe it? Crazy stuff. So anyway, they're piling up charges now. More and more every week, every month, I get more charges, more tickets, more charges. I was arrested multiple times, arrested for attending a rally, arrested for attending a protest, arrested in the middle of the highway by our CMP. So that's your FBI. I was arrested again under the bridge, driving back home. I was arrested with my wife. I mean, crazy stuff. And then I'm skipping a lot of things. During that time, Noah, they lit our house on fire. They wanted to murder me and my children in the middle of the night. It was only because the neighbor saw the fire right away we were spared, because the firefighters came and they said that only minutes. If this was a few minutes later, we would burn alive with my 3 children in a house. So I stepped outside. There is firefighters, there are ambulances, and I thought that they are coming to arrest me. I said to my wife, I think they're coming for me again. But then I saw the smoke, and I said to my wife, it looks like neighbor's house is on fire. Because I could not comprehend that someone would like to murder me for feeding thousands of people. My crime, again, is just being a pastor. Crying with those that are crying and hurting, being a messenger of hope, feeding the poor, and yet they wanted me murdered. So thank God, God spared us. So then they tried to attack us physically. Antifa was in our house. Then we had they unscrewed tires of our pickup truck, and in the middle of driving, the tire just took off on its own. We find out that they unscrewed the bolts in our tires. Then they lit our church on fire. They burned down our church's bus, vandalized our church for 3 months. I was physically attacked, bear sprayed, punched in the face, knives, guns, you name it. We had it. And then the truck convoy came. What is truck convoy? We call it the Freedom Convoy. It was when the truckers were forced to get the job to cross the border. Until now, they were viewed as the heroes in Canada because the truckers are delivering food and all's good, and they were viewed as heroes. And now the government is cracking on them. So they decided to do a slow roll. Kind of bunch of them came together. They called me and they said, Art, at that time, Noah, I was called the Canada's pastor. So they called me and they said, would you become our pastor for the movement? Would you conduct a series of church services for the truckers and the farmers? And of course, they didn't have to ask me twice. I started to deliver church services. I was doing this already for the rallies. We had 15, 20,000 people every week on the streets of Calgary. I was doing events in Ottawa, capital of Canada. I was doing events in other provinces, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, you name it. I was all over the place encouraging people, telling them that God is bigger. You got to know, I remember, I grew up in a country that started the revolution against the Soviet Union under the Solidarity banner with Lech Wałęsa. So when your president, Ronald Reagan, came to Germany in 1987, I don't know if you remember that, and he said this famous line, Mr. Gorbachev, turn down this wall. I was on the other side of that wall.
Wow.
Right? So you, this great American eagle, did it before. You helped us. And the eyes of the world were on America. And you did it. You did it because effectively the Berlin Wall collapsed, Iron Curtain was broken, Europe was liberated. Now we're fighting the same demons. So I contacted.
If I can just jump in for a second, and just say, I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but I mean, your story is you are a modern day Paul from the Bible. I mean, you are going around being persecuted from country to country, and you're just walking in this power and this confidence. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible to me listening. I knew bits and pieces of your story. I didn't know most of this, and I know you're not even all the way through it yet, but absolutely incredible. And we just need more people like you. All the pastors that closed down their churches, all they did was expose themselves that they don't think there's any true power behind what they're preaching every Sunday. I mean, absolutely disgusting to me. And here you are keeping the doors open. These pastors that closed down their churches in America and Canada, they don't know their history. They don't know that during the Black Plague, it was the Christians that went in and treated the people who were sick because they weren't scared of it. And that's what I see you doing. I mean, you're reliving history here, and it's just, I just have to say, it's incredible to hear your story.
Yeah, thank you. Historically speaking, it was the clergy, it was the nuns that were taking care of the sick. I mean, we are commanded to lay hands on the sick and pray. So how you lay hands on the sick if you don't believe that they can recover?
I think many did not, and I think they got exposed during the last 4 years that they want to get up and give a nice feel good message, but they don't believe there's any power behind it.
Yeah, you're right. So about 3 years before the big lie, I call the past 4 years a big lie. Before the big lie happened, God spoke to me and he said, you're about to witness the greatest separation between the sheep and the goats and the sheep and the wolves. In other words, God was telling me, you will know who is real and who is fake, who is a real shepherd of God's people and who is just a hired gun. Because a hired person, it doesn't want to lay down his or her life for what's God's, because it's just money, it's just a business, right? Mm-hmm. But the real deal, and I mean, that's the Bible, the real deal is always willing to go all the way, because Jesus paid the price. We have to be willing to pay the price as well. So now going back to the story,
yes,
about 3 months, about three months, I would say, before the big lie, I saw a fence. I saw a vision. God gave me a vision, and on that fence, I knew the fence represents the whole world, and I saw many people sitting on a fence. And then I saw two powerful hands that grabbed the fence and start shaking the fence violently. And I knew those hands belonged to God, and he's shaking the fence. And I saw people, and they were holding on to the fence. They were riding the fence. They loved the fence because they were very comfortable. A little bit of the devil, a little bit of God, like a schizophrenia, a little bit of good and a little bit of evil. They were riding the fence, but when the two powerful hands grabbed that fence and shook it, people were falling to the left and to the right, to the left and to the right, to the left and to the right. And he never stopped shaking, Noah. God never stopped shaking until everyone was off the fence. And then he spoke to me and he said, when I'm done shaking, everyone will have to choose either me or the devil. So he was preparing me for something that was coming. I just, of course, didn't know what is going to happen, but he was preparing us as some shaking is happening. So now it's 2021. The truck convoys started to roll. I am organizing rallies, protests, church services everywhere, all over, courthouses, city halls, government buildings, parks. We are preaching, feeding the poor. We never stopped feeding the poor. And we are educating people about history, about Constitution, Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Stand for your rights, stand for your God and state given rights. And the government was getting scared. I started Solidarity Movement of Alberta, Solidarity Movement of Canada, based on the Solidarity Movement that took down the Soviet Empire. And the government was watching. They were noticing how popular we were becoming. When the truckers came,
can you tell me real quick? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I heard you speak in a different interview. For most people listening are probably from America and don't know Canadian law and protections very well, but you were explaining you have very special protections where the police are not supposed to enter places of worship or disrupt places of worship or enter with weapons. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, Section 176 of the Criminal Code of Canada prohibits anyone from disrupting a religious gathering or interfering with the clergy while he is on his way performing or coming from performing his duty as a clergy. And if you do that, it doesn't matter who you are. If you do that, it's a 2 years of imprisonment.
So it's all the people that are persecuting you who are breaking the law, not you.
That's right. That's right. We have multiple other provisions in our law that they are not allowed to interfere with our religious gathering. It's a criminal offense to do something like this. We've got charter rights and freedoms. We got religious protections. We got everything on paper. But here is the thing that I have been educating Americans on, because when I traveled to your country, people were coming to me and said, "Oh, this will never happen to us. We have the Constitution of the United States of America. We have the Declaration of Independence, and this will never, ever happen to us. We got our amendments." And I said, "Stop. Obviously, you're not paying attention. And obviously, you do not know history." Poland was the second country on earth, right after the United States of America, that implemented Constitution within a few years. From your constitution, we had our own constitution. We were electing kings democratically. And when the Nazis came to Poland, they did not care. Tyrants, dictators do not care about your human rights. They do not care about your constitution. Right. Poland had a constitution and Germans didn't care. When you were celebrating the victory over the Nazi and Adolf Hitler in 1945, Poland was taken over, enslaved by the Soviet Union. We had a constitution. The communists and the socialists didn't care about our piece of paper. So I say to Americans, the tyrants do not care about your piece of paper. You must care about your piece of paper. You must stand up for what's rightfully yours. You must defend what your promised land for the sake of your children and your grandchildren, just like your founding fathers did. If you don't do it, no one else will do it for you. So even though Canada has enormous provisions within the criminal, civil, constitution, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Bill of Rights, International Bill of Rights, human rights, and etc., those people didn't care about any of them. I mean, listen, you will hear what they did to me when I was imprisoned, and you will think I'm telling you how I was treated in North Korea, in China, in Soviet Russia. So going back to the story, I was part of the truck convoy, and here is what I observed being part of this movement. I observed people loving each other. Color didn't matter. Background didn't matter. It didn't matter where you came from. We were all Canadians under our national flag. We stood together. We were singing together, loving each other, feeding each other. People were bringing their cats and their dogs, their horses. It was like a family reunion, Canadian style. We had bouncy houses. We were playing street hockey. People were dancing. People were doing singing and a prayer. It was huge amounts of people that were praying on their knees. It was nothing what the government was telling the world what the truck convoy was all about. It was the most peaceful thing I've ever seen. And people were cleaning neighborhoods. They were removing graffitis. They were like, wow, like angels. In Ottawa, crime. No, think about it. In Ottawa, crime dropped 85% during the Freedom Convoy. 85% less crime when we were there. The Freedom fighters, right? And then the government, of course, declared that we are fringe minority. We are super dangerous. We are, evil, wicked, dangerous, bloody murderers that want to murder and take down a Canadian government. So anyway,
you are super dangerous to a government that wants to control the people.
Of course, it's all about manipulation, disinformation, misinformation, and propaganda. The very thing they are doing, they're accusing us of doing. And you see this clearly with Donald J. Trump, your rightful president. whatever they are doing, they are accusing Donald Trump of doing. They are bloody murderers. They are tyrants. They are like Adolf Hitler. They want to be those that are controlling everything. They are the destroyers of economy. They are the killers of democracy, but yet they're accusing those that actually want to fix the country of what they themselves are doing. And that's Canadian government was doing the same thing. So now I was invited to Milk River and Coutts. Coutts is a border town between Montana and Alberta. And the truckers and the farmers decided to go over there and put the pressure on the provincial government, on the premier. Premier is like your governor, Kenny. And I received a phone call, and I was told that the police officers showed up dressed in black, pointing guns at children, and there is great depression. People are losing heart, and they asked me to come and cheer them up by messages of hope, by doing a church services. So I packed my car, actually my son's car, with food for them, some water. We raised some money for them for the fuel, and packed with speakers. I took my worship leader, and off we went to Milk River. Milk River was blocked by the RCMP. Again, that's like your FBI. And I did my church service, my first church service at the border. And it was very peaceful. We had a Lord's Supper, a Holy Communion. We were singing hymns. I delivered a message. It was minus 25 or 30. But it was very beautiful, extremely peaceful. RCMP was filming me, taking pictures, not a big deal. I have been monitored for many, many years. I don't really care. I live stream my sermons and my speeches anyway. And then I asked the RCMP if they would open the barricade, the police barricade, so I can go to Coutts. That's about 20 kilometers from Milk River. And they did. They opened the barricade for us. We went to Coutts. I was taken to a smuggler's saloon, was a local restaurant there, packed house with farmers and truckers, and I delivered 19-minute sermon to our hurting people. Remember, Canadian government was telling that those people are evil, they want to murder police officers, they are terrorists, and they were losing hope, they were losing heart. So I showed up and I stirred them up. I educated them about history of Poland, the solidarity movement that took down the Russian Empire, and we did it peacefully. I told them about the stories of millions of Polish people marching through the streets with this giant cross, talking, chanting, "We want God, we want God, we want God," and it resonated with the people. It resonated so much that hope entered their hearts. We were singing, we were eating dinner together. I prayed for the people, and I went home. No one stopped us, nothing. The sermon was put on internet, and immediately it became a sensation. It went all over the news, all over the social networks, and then I attended a rally, a protest, 20,000 people in Calgary, gave my speeches. And then Tuesday morning, I stepped out of my house, and Noah, I've never seen something before. I had the entire street was blocked by the police. I stepped out; they were running to grab me. There was detectives, RCMP, so like FBI. It was a SWAT team, special anti-terrorists, people, police officers with cameras rolling. There were undercover police. It was Calgary police uniformed. Everyone was there. I was carried to the police vehicle, interrogated for hours, taken to prison, stripped naked, put in shackled, a solitary confinement, and the next day, and charged with the ridiculous, unbelievable charges. No, I was charged with terrorism. I was actually charged by the Canadian government with terrorism for a sermon. During my sermon, people can listen to this sermon to this day. 90 minutes sermon. 3 times during my sermon, I told the people to stay peacefully. No guns, no swords. This is a peaceful revolution. Mahatma Gandhi style, Martin Luther King Jr. style, solidarity movement style, peaceful. There's more of us. I said they don't have enough RCMP officers. They don't have enough force to take down millions of Canadians if we stay in unity, in solidarity with each other.
Everything you are saying, by the way, we are seeing glimpses of in America. We had President Trump say, protest peacefully and patriotically, and they claim that was a violent day on January 6th. You talk about taking pictures of people to intimidate them. That's exactly what's been done with anybody who was even in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Everything you are saying, I see little glimpses of it's all happening and has been happening here for the last 4 years.
Yeah, because you got to remember the tactics is identical. They don't have to reinvent the wheels because people, unfortunately, people do not change. So they know what worked 50 years ago or 100 years ago will work again. But I also have a message for the people. If the remedy worked for the Martin Luther King Jr. or Mahatma Gandhi or Lech Wałęsa under Solidarity movement in Poland, we can implement the same tactics. There is more of us, Noah, than the villains. If we will unite, enough of division. I don't like his style. Oh, he said Nazi. I'm not going to listen anymore because he's out to lunch. Listen, those are murderers. They're murdering our elderly. They're murdering our children. What are you not getting? Are you not seeing what's happening? That me calling them Nazi is actually the most polite way of letting the people know that this is a repetition of history. They're bloody murderers. They're psychopaths. They're wicked, evil, demon-possessed destroyers of mankind. What are you not seeing? That's the problem. People have a problem with my pronouns. Oh, you shouldn't be calling those nice officers. They were polite to you. Seriously? They wanted me dead. Yeah, in a polite way. But nevertheless, you don't know your history. When the Jewish people were taken to Auschwitz-Birkenau, which I visit every year when I'm in Europe, Auschwitz-Birkenau, they were politely asked to go to the showers. And the Germans told them, if you go to the showers, on the other side of the showers is a dinner waiting for you. And they were gassed to death in the most polite way. What are you not getting? Why don't you start learning history? That's what I do. I do not just teach history, theology. I also teach history because you can learn so much from history. And the Bible is a historical book. God has given us those instances in the Bible so we can be educated and that we would hopefully not repeat the same mistakes. So going back to the story,
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I'm just so taken by what you're saying. We've had exactly that in America with Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and the media will say, "Oh, they're just the most polite people. They're just so nice. They're just so nice to everybody and so polite." And meanwhile, the most horrific things happening in the background. And then you got flip it around. You got President Trump, who's got a little bit of a tough exterior, but truly a heart of gold and changing the world for the better. You're just spot on with exactly everything you're saying.
Yeah, you see, I don't mind my enemies. I call it, I like to meet my enemies head-on collision. You know who is the worst? Is this polite, nice person that you don't even see him coming and you're stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
That's what we have been observing in the past few decades. Evil, wicked people that stab us in the back and we don't even know where this blow came from. I like Donald Trump, not because I agree with everything he is doing or saying, but I appreciate a person that will tell me the truth to my face.
Yes.
I can live with that truth, even if it hurts me. I appreciate that. I cannot stand manipulators, con artists, and liars that will tell to my face I'm a nice guy and they pray for me and this, and then in the background they're plotting evil against me. Those, hell awaits them. I prefer a man that tells you what's in his heart, even if you disagree with what he's saying. to you. So,
Well, there's a reason we call this show the Daily Truth Report, and it's because our mission is to simply get out the truth in any realm, politics, religion, whatever it may be. That's what we don't always get it right, but our goal is to get as much truth out there as possible. And by the way, there's just one truth. There's not my truth and your truth. There is just one truth out there, and we can all have different opinions, but there's only one truth.
that's right. I'll tell you a story that I cherish, and I'll cherish this for the rest of my life. Of course, all my children grew up in a house that their father was arrested all the time and in and out of jail or in and out of a court because that's just what the Canadian government was doing to their father. I was charged over 100. Over 350 times, over 120 court cases. So at times I spent more time in the court or with the lawyers than in the church as a pastor. But my children, they grew up in this environment. And my daughter, at that time, she was about, I don't know, 4, maybe 5. And I used to, play with her and tease her. It's like, "You're so cute, Maya." Her name is Maya. "Why you're so cute?" And she says, "Well, Daddy, God made me that way." I said, "Yes, that's right. God made you so cute. But, you're cute, right?" "Yes. But Daddy's cute too, right? You're cute. I'm cute." And she said, she looked at me, dead on into my eyes and said, "Daddy, you're not cute." And I said, like, "Maya, why would you say that? You're cute. That means I'm cute too, right? Because I'm your daddy." And she says, "Daddy, you're not cute." And I said, "Maya, you're breaking my heart." And she looked into my eyes and said, "Daddy, truth hurts." I'll never forget that, because sometimes you think the children are not listening, right?
Uh-huh.
They're too foolish and they don't pay attention. Actually, that's not true. They're listening. They're like sponges. And that little girl grasped the whole idea that we adults are missing, that sometimes the truth is staring us in our eyes and is brutal. And we, instead of embracing that truth, we are suppressing it and removing and trying to get rid of it. We have a problem in the West, and we have to deal with the problem. We have a cancer. And instead of dealing with the cancer, we are trying to pretend that there is no sickness in our body. Instead of dealing with it, acknowledging the problem and cutting it out. Sin is like a cancer that spreads until it kills. You have to cut it out. Corruption is like a cancer. Lying, propaganda that we have right now in our news, it's a cancer. It needs to be cut out completely, or it will eventually kill you. So now I find myself in prison. They piled up charges after charges, over 40 charges, criminal charges on me, including terrorism, inciting mischief. I'm facing, I don't know, 20, 30 years of imprisonment at this moment. I am in solitary confinement. I am being told I will be kept in this unbelievable, brutal condition for 2 years. I was manhandled. I had scars on my wrists. I was brutalized, almost popped both of my shoulders. I'm hurting. They would not give me water, and I am imprisoned. So I thought, okay, hopefully this will be just a few days. The next day, they come to me, they take me from my solitary confinement, and Noah, they placed me in metal cages. The metal cages no bigger than me sitting like this. And you can't move, you can't stretch, you can't move, you're suffocated. And nurses are coming to see if you're still alive. I've never, ever seen something like this in my entire life. I never even thought that Canadian prison, they have metal cages that they can keep people in. It was straight from a movie, Hollywood production, Sometimes you watch movies and they do to people crazy things. While they were doing crazy things to me, I spent, I don't know how long, in 2 metal cages. And I spent 21 days in solitary confinement. I was told that I will be kept in those brutal conditions for 2 years. But here is a a good story within the story. And all of that, by the way, is in my book. I wrote a book in prison called Lions Do Not Bow. Lions Do Not Bow. And all of this I'm sharing, I'm skipping lots of things, but in the book, you will have the background story. You will have in details, you will have a journal, a diary every day, day one, day two, what they did to me, what happened with inmates. And believe
I'm telling you, every single part of your story, you are just a modern day Paul. I mean, now you're writing books from prison. I mean, the parallels are astonishing.
You know, I find this ironic actually, because I was traveling a lot in my life and doing all kinds of different things, starting churches and, different marches for Jesus and Christian festivals. And everywhere I went, people were asking me, Pastor Artur, you have to write a book. You got to write a book. You got to write a book. Everywhere, thousands of people were telling me, you got to write a book. And I would look at them and I would laugh. And I said, my friends, you just don't know how busy I am. And I said to them a few times, I guess I'll have to end up in jail to be able to write a book. And I'm thinking now, of course, from the perspective of time, I'm thinking, well, I think God was smiling at that moment when I made those statements, and he said, okay, Artur, I will arrange that for you. I will arrange that for you. And behold, the first day I was locked, and then I learned I'm going to spend some time. I decided right away, okay, if I am to waste my life here in these brutal conditions, I refuse to waste my time here. I will write a book. And that was the first day. I said, the first day, okay, now I have opportunity. I'm not going to be feeling sorry for myself. Poor me. Look what they're doing to me. I will document the past 4 years of this insanity in details. And Noah, they confiscated my book 3 times already. The Canadian government confiscated my book 3 times, and 3 times we managed to get it back. Some pages missing, but I was able to, from memory to reconstruct that, get it back. And my lawyer smuggled the book from prison. I mean, how cool is that?
Wow.
My lawyer smuggled the papers because I was not able to have regular papers, so I was writing on prison forms, scraps of papers. I would just write the story, how everything started, the Get Out video, what happened before, what happened after my tour to United States, and different things that were happening, and meetings with, for example, General Flynn. You will be able to find out how I met that man in New York City, which is a fascinating story. He's a great man, and I won't spoil you. You got to read the book. You will be able to see the truck convoy and read about how that unfolded, and the rallies and the protests. We started with 7 people. Last rally that I was a part of before my arrest was 20,000 people strong every week. I started a political party. Noah, we took down the big villains in the political realm, but that's after. Let me continue with writing and solitary confinement. I was not so popular in prison. I was so popular that every time they would take me from one place to another, the inmates recognized me. And I was on solitary confinement, but people could see me through the window, and they recognized me from the news. And every time I was being moved, they would bang on the door and they would yell, "Free Pastor Art, free Pastor Art, free Pastor Art." Noah, 5 different inmates already testified to our lawyers that the guards were giving them incentives to murder me in prison. Can you believe it? They wanted to murder me in prison.
Wow.
Using the hands of the prisoners. But you know what the prisoners said to them? And you got to remember, I was there in prison with bank robbers, gun for hire, human trafficker, drug dealers, thieves, you name it. I was with the hardcore criminals. And you know what they said to the guards? This man is innocent. He's a clergy. No one touches this man. And if you touch him, watch your back, because you're going to have a riot here.
Wow.
And right? They protected me. You see, Canadian government was hurting me. The gangsters, the criminals were protecting me. And you won't believe, it's all in a book, Lions Do Not Bow. which we are pre-selling right now. You know what they did? It just, even when I think about this now, I have this feeling. They sent a petition to the director of prison, and here is what they said. You won't believe it. Every inmate in my unit, every single one of them signed it and said to the director, if you don't let him out of the solitary confinement, you got a problem. The next day, 21 days after I was in solitary and no human contact, I was able to mingle with the inmates. They won. And when I walked out of that cell, I was hugged, I was embraced. And you know what happened? I started to organize church services for the inmates. Every single day, I did Bible study for the inmates and the church service every day. And, I think I broke some kind of a record because I had every inmate in my unit at the Bible studies and at the church services. On the outside, and I want to thank American people and my church, my family, and the freedom fighters here, because every single day, Americans were phoning Canadian government demanding my release. Politicians were calling. Ohio state representatives, House of Representatives, passed a motion to put Canada on a watch list as a nation that persecutes Christians. And my wife and my son Nathaniel and my brother David organized the longest ongoing protest in the history of prison in Canada. Every day I was on the inside. The church and the freedom family, the truckers, the big rigs, the huge trucks would come outside of the prison with 4 huge blasting speakers. There were speeches, there was worship being played, there was sermons being said, blasting at the windows of the prison. Prisoners were dancing, were jumping out of joy. They said to me, we've never seen something like this before. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for coming and exposing this great corruption that is happening. So every single day I was on the inside. My wife, Marzena, my brother David, and my son Nathaniel, with others from the church, were fighting for my life on the outside. So I was so popular in jail. I prayed for the inmates. Even the Muslims were coming to me and they said, Pastor, we're tormented in our cells. We cannot sleep because there are demons there. Can you cast them out? Can you believe it? Muslims were coming to me to cast out the demons out of the cell.
Wow.
I had inmates coming for prayer. I led people to the Lord. There was a guy with a broken leg. I lay hands on him and I commanded the leg to come back. He goes to the hospital for an operation, comes back and says, you won't believe what happened. They did an x-ray. The bones were separated. After the prayer, they came together and I don't need the operation. So those were things happening in jail in Calgary. The government was watching this. And you got to remember, I had already 2 offers from the corrupted so-called justice system and the lying crown prosecutor, Stephen Johnston. He's in a book. Stephen Johnston is a crown prosecutor from the special prosecutors unit in charge of prosecuting freedom fighters for the government. He lied, he manipulated, he cheated, and he offered me that I can go home if I signed a plea deal, like a small little charge. Because you got to remember, at that time, Noah, I was a symbol of resistance. I was a symbol of fighting for freedom. Artur Pawlowski became the Canada's pastor, the symbol of freedom. And the Get Out video and all of that stuff, what they wanted was me signing the paper, pleading, guilty to one little charge so they can run the story. Pastor Artur Pawlowski pleads guilty. In other words, he was guilty, he is guilty, and he himself says he is guilty and he apologizes. They said, if you only apologize for what you did, you can go home.
Right.
No. So what happened was, because I was so popular and they couldn't break me by keeping me in cages, keeping me in solitary confinement, they started to take me from my solitary cell, tiny little cell, to a concrete cell. Every night, I would spend hours upon hours on concrete, no water, no washroom. They messed up my back really bad. but they did not break me. They confiscated my Bibles, they confiscated my write-ups, they would not give me my reading glasses. They were messing with me big time. I think it was 45 or 46 days in solitary confinement, but at that time I was able for an hour to mingle with other inmates. They literally, Noah, kidnapped me. I was told that I have to go to admission. There is someone waiting for me. I have a visitor. That's what they were. They were lying to me. What happened was they were sheriffs. They shackled my feet, and I was literally kidnapped from Calgary without the knowledge of my lawyers, without the knowledge of my family, hundreds of miles away. And they put me, you won't believe, they put me in a max spot. Max spot is a prison for the most dangerous terrorists in the country. I was locked in a max spot unit in the city of Edmonton with hundreds of other cells empty. I was the only inmate in the entire unit, minus 28, freezing conditions, guarded by 3 guards, and I got a document, a paper that stated that I'm so dangerous that I have to be housed alone, no interaction with other human being, and I will be kept here indefinitely. And I'm telling you, 30 minutes outside of cell, I was only allowed. I grabbed the phone, I called my wife, and I said my goodbyes.
Oh.
I think I reached my bottom because I realized they're going to murder me. I'm freezing, I'm shivering, I can't sleep, I can't function. There's nothing to do. You're locked in a freezing Siberia type of environment, minus 28 on outside. And I asked for a blanket, and they laughed and they said, at least you have fresh air. So I called my wife and I said, honey, this is goodbye. I think they intend to murder me here. So she calls a lawyer. A lawyer sends a letter to the judge. And again, all of this in details is in the book. She calls a lawyer. Lawyer sends a letter to the judge. Judge learns about what is happening to me, and they got scared. Remand centers in Canada are privately owned. So when the judge learned all of this, the human rights violations, they transferred me. But you will not believe where they transferred me. I was escorted by high-ranking guards all the way to another unit where people were jumping up and down, walking in a circle. So I asked them, where am I? Where are you taking me? And they said, you are in a wild, wild west. And I said, what that means? You're in a psych ward. No, they locked me up in a psych ward without the evaluation of the doctors, without even the knowledge of Alberta Health Services, completely illegal, Soviet style. They placed me in a cell with a schizophrenic that murdered his own brother with a machete. You see, they asked inmates in Calgary to murder me. That didn't work out. So they were hoping that this schizophrenic guy that saw things all the time when I was there, perhaps he will stop me. At this time, here's a funny story. I was told that I'm so dangerous that I cannot have a pen. I was not allowed to have a pen. So I walk into this young man's, the schizophrenic guy's cell that I'm going to be sharing cell with, and he has about 20 pens. And I said to him, I'm considered the most dangerous inmate in the country. I cannot have a pen. And he looks at me and says, well, you can have mine. Can you believe it? I'm a pastor. The guy is a bloody murderer. I'm a pastor. I cannot have a pen because, you see, they were afraid that I was writing everything. They didn't want me to keep writing. That's why this book has to go out, because this is a book that the Canadian government fought against for months.
That's why they say the pen is mightier than the sword.
That's right. In a few little stories from psych ward, I'm sitting there. I tell you the truth. I don't know how to minister to crazy people. I said, God, Lord, help me here, because I have no idea how to minister to them. I can minister to the gangsters, I can minister to the sinners, but how you minister to people that are, jumping up and down or walking in a circle? What, you walk in a circle with them? What do you do? So I sat there and I'm thinking, God, help me here, because I'm lost now. And this guy sitting next to me, he's looking at me and he turns his head And I'm thinking, oh my God, is he that crazy? And he says, aren't you that pastor that gets arrested all the time? And I said, yeah, guilty as charged. And he jumps out of his chair and he yells at the top of his voice, you are my hero, man. I am so glad you're here with me. And thank you. And, thank you for fighting for our rights. And it was so hilarious because I said, everywhere I go, those criminals love me. The crazy people love me. Is that a good thing, Lord, or is it a bad thing? You know? Another kicker from the psych ward is that the good thing was we had the most time outside of the cell than any other unit. Remember, I was kept 24, sometimes 26 hours straight in a cage, so only usually 1 hour out of the cell. Here, they had pretty much all day out of the cell, and there were two TVs. So I said, okay, so hopefully the time will go faster. It will not be so depressing and bad, because in Calgary we didn't have chess, we didn't have checker, we couldn't play anything. It was nothing, zero, nothing. We couldn't even watch TV. So in Edmonton, they had two TVs, and I went to the special TV room, and the movie started. And I said, okay, at least I'll be able to watch a movie. And guess what happened? About 10 minutes in the movie, someone jumps and changes the channel.
Mhm.
So I said, this is weird. It was a good movie, and everyone liked the movie. But anyway, we are watching a new movie now. About 10 minutes later, he jumps again and changes the channel. So now we are watching another movie. And every 10 minutes he would jump and change the channel. I was there a week, and I did not watch even half of the movie. I watched maybe 40, 50 segments, a little portion of different movies throughout this time. Eventually, the judge that learned what they're doing to me released me on bail. I was placed on bail for a year and a half, couldn't travel, couldn't move, I couldn't go outside of my house without the permission. And from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., they kept me on total house arrest, and eventually met my oppressors. I was found guilty on everything, including terrorism, and I was facing. Now, here is a cool story. I was found guilty on terrorism, and a month later, the Crown prosecutor withdrew the terrorism charge and only kept the inciting mischief and a breach of release order, which is 12 and a half years of imprisonment. In September last year, on September the 18th, I was sentenced, and the judge said at the beginning, I can send you to prison for 12 and a half years. You're a criminal, and everyone that took part of the Freedom Convoy is a criminal as well. And then he stopped. And this is a bizarre part of the story. He stops, he says, I have to consult the sentencing with others. He leaves the room. I've never seen something like this before. And again, I'm a little bit of an expert. He leaves the room and comes back later, and he says, you're free to go, time served, which was a shocker to the mainstream media, shocker to the freedom community, shocker to everyone, because I said my goodbyes already. Why?
Right.
Because when I was released from jail, for about 10 months, Canadian government attempted to bribe me. I was offered $2 million to keep my mouth shut. I was offered a guaranteed seat. Listen to this. This government right now that we have offered me a guaranteed seat at the legislature if I keep my mouth shut. And if I don't want to be a politician, they told me they are willing to give me a job, $250,000 a year, if I can keep my mouth shut. I was about 10 different meetings. Government came to offer me all kind of trinkets. I told them, Artur Pawlowski is not for sale. I have been already bought by the precious blood of Jesus, and I will not become your puppet, even with all your money. So
Wow.
they changed the tactics. And then I started to receive, Noah, something that I've never seen before. They are calling themselves political fixers. And that's in the book as well. Political fixers are the people that are offering you things in behalf of the government, or they are threatening you or blackmail you in behalf of certain politicians. And so I started to receive phone calls from the political fixers, and they said that has been decided by the prime minister, another one politician that is running to become the prime minister, Pierre Poilievre, and a premier, so like a governor, Jason Kenney, to eliminate me, and that's how they call it, to remove you from the board, because they want you to shut up, and you're not shutting up. I was doing shows and interviews all the time. Even from jail, I was doing interviews sometimes. My wife would record it on phone and then pass it to the news agencies. And they said, because you don't play and you're exposing politicians, it has been decided, the judge is bought and paid for. Gordon Krinky is his name, appointed by the government to run this case. It was a show trial. And they said, you will go in and you will not come out. So say your goodbyes. Unless you withdraw yourself from the public life for 2 years. If you promise us that you withdraw, you disappear from the public life for 2 years, you will walk free and you will live. And I said, no, I'm not. You will not bribe me and you will not scare me. My God is bigger than all of you combined together. And what I did before my sentencing, we had hundreds of people showing up. It was live streamed to hundreds of thousands of viewers.
And when is this? Is this 2023 or 24?
That's 2023, last September.
Okay.
Before my sentencing, that I was facing 12 and a half years of imprisonment. And again, I was told that I will be murdered in prison. I will not come out. I said my goodbyes and I gave my speech to the people. Noah, in my speech, I included everything the government was telling me I cannot talk about. And plus, so I said to the people, if I am to go down, if Artur Pawlowski is to go down in history, I'll go down with a splash. And I walked into the court. I said my goodbyes to my children and my family, and I walked out of it. And when I walked out of the court, when the judge said time served, God spoke to me, and he said, I want you to go back to the United States, because at this time, remember, I could not travel. Because I was on house arrest, and he said, go back to United States and keep warning them, because if you lose this election, listen to me, if you lose this election, it's going to be hell for you. Hell. They will rob you, they will destroy you, they will arrest you, they will do horrible things to you, and Americans are going to hurt. This is, in my opinion, the most important election in the history of United States of America. So that's what I have been doing. I have not been traveling around Canada much. I have dedicated my life to keep going back to your country. So every month I am in the United States. I'm going there tomorrow. I'm going to be preaching in New York State. I'm going to be preaching, speaking, sharing communism. Actually, the topic is, what is communism? To the Republican Party in New York City, in Manhattan. On Tuesday, on Wednesday, I'm going to be sharing with another Republican club in New York City. Then I'm doing multiple conferences, and then Reawaken America, because it's crucial. It's this timeline. If we lose this election, if we lose this timeline of God's favor, it's over. And if it's over for you, it's definitely over for China, because we are living truly behind the Iron Curtain in China right now. So I documented all of this in a book, and I'm very happy about this, because when I share my story, like today, and we are even talking already for 2 hours almost. Look, I only touched, Noah, a tip of the hill, of the iceberg. There is so much more. There's so many twists and so many stories. I also won election. I was elected to be a leader of a political party. I mean, I didn't even had time to talk about this. I created another political party for the people, a solidarity movement of Canada, Alberta, and I put all of that in a book. The book was just released for pre-order yesterday, and I'm so happy that I'm doing this show with you, because I don't know if you know, Noah, today is a Feast of Trumpet.
Yes.
And you have given me an opportunity not to rush the story, that I was able to kind of give people the outline the timeline of what happened as a warning, but also as a testimony, because I want people that are going to listen to this or read the book, I want them to understand that this is not, look, poor me, look what they did to Artur Pawlowski. No, 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 no. That's not the story. I want you to understand that they did everything in their power, including attempted assassinations, multiple times on my life. They've done everything to imprison me, to torture me, to smear me, to destroy me financially. I had to remortgage my house 7 times. They've done everything in their power to destroy Artur Pawlowski, and yet look at me. You don't see me scared. You don't see me depressed. You don't see me suicidal, because the message is this: look what they did, not look what they did to him, but look what the mighty things the Lord has done for Artur Pawlowski and his family. That's the story. That's why I titled this book Lions Do Not Bow. We do not bow before the hyenas. We eat them for breakfast. We don't make pacts with hyenas. We don't negotiate with hyenas. We don't debate hyenas. We eat them for breakfast. We are lions following the lion from the tribe of Judah. I watched the lions hunt in the savannah in Africa. And I'm telling you, when lions show up, even the birds they're stopping chirping. The monkeys pay attention. The whole nature acknowledges the kings have come. My friends, you are the children of the Most High God. You are the sons and the daughters of the creator of heavens and the earth, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end. We have already won. My friends, the message is this: we have already won. The enemy just doesn't know it yet. When David faced Goliath, most of the people saw an obstacle. David saw an opportunity. On the other side of the mountain of a man was David's destiny. My friends, you have a destiny in the Lord. We know how the story ends. We win in the end. We just have to show up. And just like Proverbs 28:1, like you have here, the wicked flee. We have no reason to run when no man pursues them, but the righteous are bold as a lion. We are called to roar and stand and fight if needs be, because in the end of the day, this is the land the Lord has given us. This is our promised land. You must stand for God and state-given rights, and you must do this for your children and for their children. Your founding fathers did it for you. Now it's time for you to rise up, stand up, and do it for the next generation.
Our guest today is Canada's pastor, but I'm kind of thinking he might need a promotion to North America's pastor, because we'd like to adopt him down here in the United States. Absolutely incredible. I just am so happy that you came on the show today. And we're not going to wrap up quite yet. We're getting close to the end. But if you have, I think everybody is just captivated listening to your story. I had no idea there was this much to it, but we are live. If you have a question or even a comment for Pastor Art, leave it in the comments. I am watching those, and we'll get you featured on here. But I think everybody's just kind of in stunned disbelief listening to this story, and your boldness is amazing. I wonder if, well, like you said, there's so much to your story that we've been on almost 2 hours, and we've only scratched the surface. So I will put up here on the screen your book that you wrote on shreds of paper from prison. There's
No, but by the way, before you continue, I want the people to know that the Canadian government has put a cap on the story. They don't want people to know what's in a book, because I am naming them. I am shaming them, and I'm letting the people know not only what happened to me and my family, but who did this to us.
Yeah. So really, it is a big deal. If we can, just like everything else you have done in life, if we can get big enough support and a big enough groundswell through this pre-order, it's so much more than just buying a book. It's actually getting this message out there that they won't be able to stop it and shut it down. So the best place to go is what I have up on the screen. And I'll put a link below wherever you're watching this. That'll take you right to the pre-order page from the publisher. you can scan the QR code that's on your screen or click the link that's down below. That's the best. But I know sometimes people are just in the habit. You can also find it on Amazon. It is up there. Just search for Lions Do Not Bow, or search for Art's name, Artur Pawlowski, right on, put it in Amazon. It will pull right up. I found it in 1 second. So you can get it there too. But really important if we can get this message out to as many people as possible. It's just like all the J6 people sitting in prisons in the United States for no crime that they didn't even commit. Your story is our story down here, and you have a platform. You're able to get support, but there's so many people sitting in American prisons right now that need help. So I wonder if you kind of told your story in chronological order, but maybe I can jump way back. I found this interesting. We were chatting before we came on, and I was at, the world learned about you in 2020, but I was kind of asking, what were you doing before that? You come from a very successful business background that you walked away from. I wonder if you would just tell that story briefly.
Yeah, so behind the Iron Curtain, I was already involved in business. At that time, we were bringing illegal, in quote, things from behind the Iron Curtain. So I was always gifted, if you will, or talented to organize things. And before people will come to conclusion that we were some kind of a big mafia people, I was bringing chocolates from Germany. I was smuggling electronics from Austria, stuff that the communist government would not allow the Polish people to have, like bananas and oranges. I know it's bizarre, or coffee, that we had to stand in a lineup for 3 days. I would be able to organize and buy those things from behind the Iron Curtain and bring them to Poland. But that was when I was young. Then we moved to Greece. And in Greece, I wanted to study. I was studying law at the time, but I couldn't. We were very poor. First furnitures were from a garbage bin, believe it or not. TV was a black and white from garbage bin and only worked 15 minutes. And then we had to shutting it down. We had to wait for the whole thing to cool. And then we would watch another 10, 15 minutes. So we had a very humble beginning. I emigrated or escaped Poland with $3 American. I have this two I spend it, one on food and another one I blow it. But I have the last one still to this day. So we work very hard. We started construction business. I was building houses for the richest people in Athens, Athenians and Greek. And then Canadian government opened its borders for us. It took us 5 years to go through the proper paperwork, medical, all the immigration process. We end up in Canada in 1995. And I started a business again. We were very successful at the time. We became a land developers and building houses. I used to own a media company as well. And we were doing very, very well. And I started to work with the homeless people. My first homeless person with my wife was in 1999. And we took him off the streets. I hired him into my company. And that's what started this, what we're doing right now, feeding thousands of people every single week. But it was a humble beginning. I was doing this part-time for a few years until 2005. So I'm already on the streets once a week. I'm helping the people. I'm organizing their, accommodations and food and all different things. But I knew I can do a lot more. At that time in Calgary, all the newspapers were screaming crisis. There was 10 cities. It was 15 to 20,000 homelessness. It was very bad. So in 2005, with my wife, we decided to walk out of the business, completely out, and devote the rest of our lives into saving lives. And that's what we're doing to this day. 2005, we created an organization. If you're interested, you can go to streetchurch.ca, streetchurch.ca, because we are on the streets, streetchurch.ca. And we started to feed people en masses, and of course, preaching the gospel and halfway housing, getting them jobs and helping people. And that's what we do to this day. And also, in the meantime, we started over 40 missions similar to the ones that we have in Calgary all over the world. And that's what I was busy doing, traveling and just, minding my own business and helping saving as many lives as possible until the Canadian government decided to attack me without mercy. Believe it or not, the first time I was arrested, Noah, it was 2006 for reading Bible in public, contrary to our protection. The police officer came and said, "You're not allowed to read the Bible in public." I said, "Since when? The Constitution is giving me a religious freedom." "Well, I'm the law. You have to stop." And I disagreed. So I got handcuffed, forced to walk backwards. The arrest is still on YouTube. And I was charged with 7 criminal charges, and I faced a year of imprisonment. That's 2006. Noah, if I tell you that the Canadian government was working very hard on this communism, Marxism, and socialism, you wouldn't want to believe it. You know that we have laws contrary to the Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that say you're not allowed to give free goods and services. So if I pray for you in public, I just technically committed a crime. If I give you a sandwich, if I give a sandwich to a dying child on the streets of Calgary, I just committed a crime, according to them. I was told, and I was charged with those offenses, giving free goods and services. I was charged with illegal distribution of printed material. Illegal distribution of printed material, that's Bibles and gospel tracts.
Mm-hmm.
I was charged with that. I faced trial after trial after trial for those things, placing material on the ground, stunting, because they said when we feed the poor, drivers are distracted by the view. So I was charged criminally for that. I was charged with disturbing peace, you name it. Everything that they had, I was charged with. Over 350 citations, but we won. We won everything, and we're still doing what we're doing. God has been good to us. And Noah, if you go to streetchurch.ca or go to my Facebook page, Artur Pawlowski, Facebook page, you will be able to see what we're doing. And I'm telling you, the Street Church ministry is like Psalm 23, that God prepares a table in front of our enemies and our cup overflows. It's incredible. Since we started to feed the poor, Noah, we have never, not once, run out of food. Not even once. And we are feeding thousands of people every single week.
Absolutely incredible. We'll put the link to both of those down below the video too, streetchurch.ca and your Facebook page. I'm just blown away by your story. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for putting your focus now on America as we lead into this election in less than, almost exactly 30 days from today's date. By far the most important election of our lifetimes. I think that's what you said, and I totally agree. I wonder, you do walk in such supernatural power. It's just an everyday way of life for you. Do you have any prophetic words on this election? I know certainly we need to push through to the very end. Don't get complacent. Don't give up. Get everybody out there to vote and fight like we're down by 50 points. But has God shown you anything about how this election will turn out?
Yeah, I truly believe Trump is going to win. I'm actually 100% sure he's going to win. That's why they want to assassinate him, because they have run out of options. So when they are attempting assassination, that is telling you everything you need to know, that they don't know what else to do. They've tried everything and nothing, it seems, is working. However, in the end of the day, it's up to us. What do you want? Or let me ask you this question. What kind of America you want to pass it on to your children? Because if it's America of the demon rats, I call them the demon rats. If it's an America of demon rats, wicked, evil, psychopathic, bloody murderers that murder children, pervert those children that survive, lying, cheating, manipulating, then don't vote for Donald Trump, because he's not your man. But if you're sick and tired, like I am, of seeing this indoctrination, manipulation, disinformation, propaganda, and weaponizing our justice system and our media against freedom, against people that just want to mind their own business, then you must up your game. You must pray, and you must do more than just prayer, because you cannot just pray and sit. You have to pray and go and pray. Don't go without praying, but you must do something. Go and help the Republican Party. Help, and I'm not I'm not elevating Donald Trump, and I'm not putting him on a pedestal. I'm just simply saying that God has a purpose for America. God has a purpose for Donald Trump and his family. And I recognize this. I truly believe, either you like him or not, I truly believe that Donald Trump has been chosen by God, like Cyrus or Darius. They were not perfect kings, or Nebuchadnezzar. They were not, far from it. They were messed up in so many ways, but yet God called them for such a time as this. I truly believe that Donald Trump and his family and the entourage of people around him were called for such a time as this. And so when I speak about Trump's family or him, I'm not elevating a man. I'm just simply recognizing that God has a plan, and he wants to use men, even men that are not perfect. Because the alternative, if you vote for Kamala Harris, you vote for the murder of the children. If you vote for her, you vote for Obama. And again, let me say his full name: Barack Hussein Obama, that was born in Kenya, city called Kisumu. How do I know that? Because I work in that city in Kenya, and the family is still there. The grandma is still there. I was asked to see his grandma. The hospital, the people, they know the brother is still living in the country, and they are rejoicing that they have fooled the American people by giving you a Muslim man that was born in Kenya. If you vote for Harris, you vote for Biden. Biden doesn't even know where he is. We don't know where he is, actually, too. You vote for Harris, you're voting for Clintons. Clintons are wicked psychopaths. You're voting for her, you're voting for all of those wicked people back into office, back into, manipulating and orchestrating evil against the people. You must recognize that Donald J. Trump is not a perfect man, but he is the man for the job. He is a deal maker. And maybe I understand him more than most of the people, because my mind is still a business mind. I'm still a little bit a businessman, because that's what I did for a living all my life before I became a full-time pastor. So I understand what he's doing, what he's saying. In a business, especially a bigger business where millions of dollars are on the table, you have to be hard, and you have to be straightforward. You have to be tough. Hard, tough, like to make a deal and to succeed, you cannot be a politician. Those politicians are losers. They will never ever know. They will never ever survive on their own. They are leeches sucking the blood of us.
That's right.
Right? Donald Trump is a successful man, and he did it on his own, and he wants to share that success with American people. Take it.
Yeah, we were never supposed to have career politicians in this country. It was supposed to be businessmen and businesswomen and people that have done it on their own, and then they take that expertise into government for 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, and then they go back to business. We have strayed so far from the original model; it's not even recognizable.
That's right. And here in Canada, we have the same thing. You got career politicians, and the only thing they care is for the re-election. They don't care about you. They don't care about keeping their promises. I mean, in a business, if you would not do what you promised, if you will not do your job, you would be fired, and your name would be tarnished and destroyed. I never, ever in my life lacked clients, because I did more than they asked me to do. I always tried to treat my clients with the greatest respect, and my job was always spotless. I did my best, even if it cost me. I would do my best. Now we have politicians that are total losers, liars, and manipulators, and they still keep their job, which is I don't understand. Right. I don't understand the concept anymore. They are supposed to be the servants of the people. Now they are the pharaohs ruling over people. Police officers should uphold the law. They are the biggest lawbreakers right now, especially in Canada. Judges were supposed to be the highest of the cream in society, and yet they're such a crooks right now. They don't even follow their own laws. It's insanity. But I think that God wants to change this. We have the power to change it. We, the people. There's more of us. Again, we started with this, and I told you there is more of us than of them. This ends when we say it ends. We, the people, in solidarity with each other, can put a stop to this insanity.
That's so good. Well, I would probably better wrap it up here. I knew this was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be quite this good. So it has been just such a tremendous pleasure having you on the show. I'd love to have you back sometime. I appreciate all you're doing for Canada and for the United States. Absolutely amazing. Everybody watching this, if you want to support Pastor Art, you can get his book. We'll put the link below. But really, if you want to support the mission that he's trying to drive forward and getting that message out, getting the book goes a long way towards that. And get one and give it to somebody if you want to. Get an extra one and give it to somebody as a gift. I'll make sure and get the link down below the video here. But I'm thinking in terms of wrapping this up, I can't have Canada's pastor on the show and not ask you to wrap up with a prayer for us before we go. Would you mind doing that?
Sure, of course. And let me read a verse to those that are listening. Deuteronomy 24. It says, "For the Lord your God is he who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to give you the victory." So, Father God, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, I bless my brothers and sisters and those that are listening and watching this with victory after victory after victory after victory. Father God, I pray you would protect Donald Trump, protect the people that he's working with. Give us a breather, Father God. Give us 4 more years so we can get prepared and get ready. I give you all the glory, Father God. Let the story be a story of success and freedom and victory, and the glory goes to you, Father God. I bless Noah and his podcast. I thank you for this opportunity, Father God, and I'm very grateful that you have chosen a little Polish immigrant with a broken English to be able to tell the truth, Father God, to the masses, and thank you for that. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray, Father, for your perfect will in our lives. Give us the strength and the courage like we have never seen before, the courage of a lion from the tribe of Judah, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, so we can fight the good fight of faith and take down as many giants as we can in the land. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you, Pastor, for joining us. It's been tremendous. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
God bless.